Yo, what is going on, guys? Jeff back here with more Project Zailas. We out here in the Z. It is a beautiful Sunday morning, and I thought it is a perfect opportunity to head outside and make this video right now and get this next part installed in my car. We are still in the interior overhaul series. This interior has changed over the last week. It has changed phenomenally. We of course did the head unit already. We've got the new Sparco steering wheel and the NRG quick release, and we've got the Tomei shift knob, which I don't think you guys have seen yet, and a couple of other little accessory things that I've added since then. But today we are going to be going into probably the biggest interior modification you can possibly make to the interior of your car, and that's swapping out the driver's seat. Now, I am just going to be doing the driver's seat today. I'm going to leave the passenger seat alone because the seats that are in my car are already very, very nice. About as nice as they came on these cars from the factory, for sure. They're super clean black leather. They're heated, powered, and they have the airbag, the safety airbag in the shoulder area there. So for whatever passenger I may have in my car as we're driving along, I want them to be as comfortable as possible, as safe as possible, and really there's no need to change it out for right now. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to go in and change out the passenger seat at a later time. If I really, really like the aesthetic of the driver's seat and I decide that I want to go ahead and swap over to a racing seat in the other side as well, I'll go ahead and do that. But for now, we're just going to do the driver's seat. I think that'll be just fine. So I'm just going to be giving you guys a brief overview of not only the seat that's going in here itself, but also how I'm doing this. There's a couple of special little things that you need to do if you want this installation to go perfectly, meaning usually when you take out a factory seat with an airbag, you're going to get an airbag light on your dashboard, and I will show you exactly how to cancel that out if you've got a 350Z like this. And I'm also going to show you the rails that it takes to install the seat. You can't just buy a racing seat or an aftermarket seat and throw it right back in your car in most cases. You also need to buy the rails. So I will show you the rails that I got. I will show you the seat itself. We'll put it in here, and I will show you how I canceled out the airbag light. So if you've been following my channel or my Instagram account, you'll probably already know that the seat that I chose is a bride seat, or brido as it's known in Japanese, and it is a very high quality seat. It is an authentic seat shipped straight from Japan. It's not a knockoff. You can go online and find knockoff seats for like 400 bucks a pair. This is not that. This is a real seat that I bought from Japan, and I had it shipped over, and I'm very, very happy with the quality. They even gave me a little certificate of authenticity to prove that it's real. I don't think I'm ever going to need to whip that thing out, but I do have it. It's kind of a cool thing. They even put their little Hanko stamp on it and everything, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why I chose the particular seat that I did. It took me a little while to settle on one. I was looking at a couple of different designs before I settled on this one. So let me show you the seat, and then I'll go over a couple of reasons why I chose it. Alright, and there you have it, guys. There is the new seat that I'm going to be putting in my car, in the driver's side at least, and man, it is looking absolutely sick. Like I said, it took me a little while to settle on this one, but after all was said and done, I had to go ahead and make the jump on the Bride Cusco Zeta 3 collaboration. It is absolutely fantastic. I could not get past the aesthetic of this particular seat with the deep black in the center and the subtle red tones in the logos there. It just worked perfectly for me, and it's going to work perfectly in my car. Now, like I said, this is a Zeta 3. It is a Zeta 3 Type L fixed bucket seat. There's no recline functionality in this thing, so it is ready to race. These Bride seats are FIA approved. Almost all of their seats are FIA approved, so if I ever decided I did want to go ahead and track the car, this seat would be absolutely perfect. Now, besides the high build quality and the awesome aesthetic, the other major reason why I chose to go with this particular seat is because I am going to be running some Cusco products in my car very soon, some bracing and safety products, so I thought that was going to be just perfect to have the Bride Cusco collab seat in there. After I run my Cusco products in my car, it would be really nice to tie everything together. I'm kind of particular when it comes to the brands of products that I put in my car. I don't just like to throw any old brand in my car at all. I kind of like to keep it tight, only go with a certain number of brands, and just rock their product line. That's just kind of how I roll. It may not make sense to some of you guys, but that's just how I am. When I see a car that has like 1 billion different stickers on it from a different company, and they got like one product per company, I don't know, it just looks kind of tacky to me. It doesn't necessarily make the car any worse, but for me, I like to stick to very specific brands. So I got the Bride Cusco, and I'm going to be running Cusco bracing products, so I like to tie it all together and support the brand. Now you can run this seat with the factory seat belt, or you can go ahead and run a harness with a harness bar or a roll cage with this seat. Like I said, it's FIA approved, so it is fully ready to accept any kind of racing hardware, racing harness that you may have. Now I am definitely going to be running a harness system and a harness bar with this seat. I do not have it in my car yet, but that is subject to change very soon, so stay tuned to that. And that is the other reason aesthetically why I chose this seat, is because the harnesses that I am planning on putting in the car are going to be red, and they're going to play very, very nicely with the red accents on the seat there. I like the black backing and the black seat there because the red's going to pop so bright on that. Like I said, I didn't want anything too flashy or gaudy, and this was absolutely perfect. Also, if you take a look at the back of the seat, it plays very nicely into the color scheme of my car. They got the Bride logo stitched onto here with the silver thread, and this is the FRP version of the seat, so they have the Bride signature silver sparkle paint on the back there. It's going to look absolutely epic from the back, so it was an obvious choice for me. There was a couple of different ones that I was looking at, but this one definitely was the one that caught my eye the most. Now off to the side here, I have got the rails that I'm going to be using to install the seat. These are Bride rails, official Bride rails. These are N160FG is the item number for these rails. They're specifically designed for this car, the Z33. This is the driver's side set. You do have to buy rails when you buy the seat. The seat does not come with the rails themselves. You don't have to go with Bride necessarily. You can go with other companies like Sparco or Buddy Club. Recaro also makes really nice rails. So just make sure that you buy rails that are specific to your car if you're going to be doing a seat install like this. In this case, I just went ahead and stuck with Bride because I can trust their rails are going to fit absolutely perfectly with their seat, and I'm not going to have to worry about compatibility issues whatsoever. I've already pretty much pre-constructed these rails. They don't come exactly like this when you get them out of the box. They do give you all the hardware and the brackets that you need to put these together and install them on the seat. That's these brackets right here that you can see on both of them, and then the hardware right here. They do provide that in the box. They don't actually give you the hardware that it requires to fix the brackets onto the seat. The seat itself will actually come with that hardware, so make sure you keep that in mind. If you happen to have a racing seat that you picked up and it doesn't have any rails on it, you more than likely will need to buy new hardware in order to fix the brackets onto the seat, because the brackets do not come with that hardware. Now these are very simple to put together. I didn't really feel the need to put them together on camera because it's really self-explanatory. Both the rails and the seat come with really nice instructions. Of course, they are in Japanese, but if you don't read Japanese, they come with really nice pictures in here that are super simple to follow, so you should be able to install these brackets like this no problem. They are specific for specific sides of the seat, so just make sure you're not installing them on the wrong side and you should be good. Also, this right here is the factory seat buckle that I pulled off of my factory seat that I've already removed from my car, and they also show you exactly how to put this bolt in there, which they do provide the new bolt. You're not going to reuse the old bolt that you pull out of your factory seat. You're going to use the new bolt that they give you and this set of washers, and they will give you a diagram in the instructions for exactly the order in which those washers need to go in and all that. It sounds really complicated, but it's really simple. So I just went ahead and fastened my factory seat belt buckle onto the right side of the bracket. Again, this is driver's seat, so this will be on the right side. This is the left side bracket, and then I was careful to maintain the electronic connection that's coming out of the buckle. This is the connector that's going to hook right into the factory harness under the carpeting under the seat that tells the car that I'm wearing my seatbelt. When you plug your seatbelt in, it will turn off the seatbelt light on the dash. Again, this is a very simple thing to do. I didn't feel the need to put this on camera. It's just a process of unclipping the plastic on the side of the factory seat, unbolting your seatbelt buckle, carefully removing the harness, unclipping the harness from the bottom of the seat and removing the harness from the bottom of the seat, and then rebolting it onto the bracket here. Really not hard to do at all, and it's very self-explanatory, so you shouldn't have too many issues. If you're not running a racing harness, an aftermarket racing harness, you will need to do this step right here, which I don't have my harness yet, so I am going to be running my factory seatbelt for the time being. So a brief rundown of how these rails actually work. They are sliding rails, so they come with, flip this up, turn this around here. This is the left side, so this is the side that you're going to see when you open the door. So they come with these levers right here that allow you to slide the rail back and forth on the actual rail itself. And then you will see on the two brackets here that there's two sets of 3 mounting holes. You can see 3 on that side and 3 on that side right there. And those are going to be for the seat height position when you install these on the car. You're going to install your hardware, put them on the seat in one of these 3 levels, and you can do it independently. So for example, this is the front end. If you want the seat to sit a little higher in the front here, but a little lower in the back, you're going to go ahead and leave the bolt position in the bottom there or in the middle, and then this one will be up here in one of these top 2. Vice versa, if you want it to sit a little higher in the back and a little lower in the front, you're going to mount it low here and high in the back there. So it's a really nice 3-point adjustment that you have with the rails there. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and mount it in both of the lowest slots. I like to sit kind of low when I'm driving, so I'm going to first attempt to install it in the lowest slots. I'll of course then sit in the car and make sure it feels comfortable. If I do need to make any adjustments, I will take it back out and readjust the rails accordingly. Now these are what is known as side mount rails, meaning that they actually fix to the side of the seat and not the bottom like a typical rail would. So taking a look at the seat, you can see one mount hole right there and one right there. We're just going to end up taking these rails and fixing them on just like that. Again, like I said, making that height adjustment as necessary. You can see kind of how that works there. And then of course they just bolt to the factory positions on the floorboard of your car. So heading over to the car, as you can see, I've already removed my factory seat out of here. It was a very simple process. It was just 4 14mm bolts. There's 2 right there and 2 right there, as you can see. Very simple to take that out. One thing you do have to be careful of is the harness that will more than likely be attached to the bottom of your seat. Don't just try to rip that thing out of there once you get your bolts out, because you do need to disconnect the harness that is connected underneath your seat, especially if you have fully loaded seats like I did. They were heated, powered, everything like I said, so they have quite an array of connectors there that I had to deal with. Now, one of the major things you need to keep in mind when taking out the factory seat with an airbag with an aftermarket seat like this is that you are disconnecting the airbag from the system, and the car is going to flip out when it detects that there is no longer an airbag connection. What you will need to do is actually put a resistor into your airbag connection so that your car cannot tell that the airbag is no longer there. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I did this. I have already put in my resistor. I'm going to show you exactly which one I used and how I did it, and I have confirmed that this does work. I can turn the car on with no seat, no airbag in the car, and I do not get an airbag light at all. So I'm going to show you exactly how this works. Now I can really only speak for the 350Z. This may be different in other cars if you're trying to do an aftermarket seat install in a different car. I really don't know, but I have confirmed that this does definitely work for the 350Z. So this guy here is the harness that you're going to unplug from the bottom of your seat. Now my seat was fully loaded, as I've already mentioned, and these 2 white connectors are what controlled all of the power functionality in my seat. That's the heat and the power sliding and the power recline. So those we are no longer going to need. We don't have that functionality anymore, so I don't need to worry about those. Those are done. This yellow one, on the other hand, is the airbag sensor, the airbag connection, I should say, and this is what we did have to deal with. Now this is a 2-piece connector here. You got a back piece and the piece that plugs into it. One of the pieces, the piece that plugs in, is connected to the seat, and the other piece is connected to the harness that's going under your carpet right here. You will need to unclip these 2 clips in order to remove your factory seat, but before you do, remove the negative battery terminal under the hood and make sure there's no power flowing through the car. You always want to make sure there's no power in the car when you're disconnecting anything airbag related, just to be safe. Once you have the factory seat removed, the bottom part of this clip here is going to remain on the harness, and the top portion, the portion that sticks in, the male portion, is still going to be attached to the bottom of the seat. You are going to have to remove that male portion from the bottom of the seat, meaning you're going to have to clip the wires and remove it. You can see the wires here are yellow. These are just some heat shrink tube that I used to reinforce the wires so they don't fray, as I had my helping hands on them. And you will need to clip those and solder on a resistor to those 2 wires, and then clip it right back into the female end on the harness. Now this resistor is very simple. It's just a 2.2 ohm 1/4 watt resistor. You can get these on eBay or Amazon for super cheap. You can get a pack of like 10 of them for $5 or something like that. So they're not expensive at all, and you only need the one if you're just doing the driver's seat. If you're doing the passenger seat as well, obviously you're going to need another one for the passenger airbag connection, but this is all you have to do. Just take that resistor and do a little solder job to solder it onto the 2 yellow wires that are on the male end of the airbag connector. This again is the one that you get off the bottom of the seat. Just solder that resistor onto the 2 ends just like that. Do a good job with it, and then just plug that thing back into the female end on the harness, and your airbag light will not go off. If you do a good job anyways. If you do a sloppy job, you never know. I can't really speak about that, but if you do a good job, it will not go off. So here's how I soldered it. Hopefully you can see that. I am going to be, of course, putting some electrical tape and wrapping this up so it's nice and clean. There's no exposed metal, and we'll be good. No airbag, no problems whatsoever. So if you don't want an airbag light, you do have to do that. Again, this is a 2.2 ohm quarter watt resistor. Just search for that on eBay or Amazon and you should be able to find one, no problem. It's very simple actually, guys. You don't have to put a piece of black tape over your over your airbag light. So I hope that's a good enough explanation of how to cancel the airbag light. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'd be more than happy to attempt to answer those for you. It's not a complicated thing at all. A lot of people are kind of intimidated by it, but it's actually very simple. Just make sure you disconnect the negative battery terminal before you unplug that connector for the first time. If you unplug that before you have the negative battery terminal connected, your light is going to go off and it will stay on even if you do this, because the computer will recognize that there's no airbag. And even if you put this in, it's still going to be throwing the code for no airbag. So make sure you disconnect that negative terminal before you disconnect this from the seat and pull the seat out. Then do this while there's still no power in the car. After the resistor is in, then put the power back on, and your car will never know the difference. It will still think that the airbag is in the car. So you will get no airbag light. So now that that's done, I'm just going to wrap that up with some electrical tape, get that out of the way, and we are going to put our brackets on our seat and get this thing in there. I am so hyped. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have gone ahead and attached my rails. Like I said, I wanted the lowest seat position possible, so I went ahead and threw the hardware in the lowest holes on both sides. As you can see there, we've also got our seat belt in position. The belt is going to be running over the top and clicking in right there. Now, because the 350Z has a metal bracket here, it's not just a regular belt like some older cars. I'm not able to fish the buckle up into this hole right here, so I'm going to have to run it over the top of the bolster, but I will be fishing the bottom part of the 3-point harness, the 3-point stock harness, through that hole there, and of course going through this portion here as well. I will show you how to do that in just a second. But that is how you get the rails on the seat. It's very simple, just simple hardware. And back in the car here, here's the harness that I had. I just put a couple zip ties in it to tidy it up. And then I, of course, taped up my little resistor and everything, so all my wiring is nice and clean. There's no bare metal, no exposed metal at all, so we're good to go there. This white connector here, I had mentioned we're not going to need it, but we are actually going to need this one. This is where the seatbelt wire plugs back into, or the seatbelt harness rather. It's going to plug back into that so that you don't get a seatbelt light on your dashboard. This one we are not going to need. This is for your power stuff in your seat, so we don't need that, but we are going to plug the seatbelt wire back into this one right here. So before we put the seat in, we're going to go ahead and prep our stock seat belt for use. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take off this little clip right here on the bottom. This little plastic thing, you should just be able to get that out with your finger, just like that. And then this is a 14mm bolt right there. Go ahead and take that out. Then we're going to fish this, the bottom portion of this seat belt through the seat, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Alright, so we've unbolted the bottom portion of the seat belt here from the side. Just go ahead and leave this, the bolt in and everything, leave it connected. You should be able to get it through the seat with that in there, no problem. Just let that dangle for a second, and we're now ready to put the seat in the car. This is the super fun part. Alright guys, we have got the seat loosely set into the car. That is looking quite dope, if I do say so myself. I have not bolted anything in just yet. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take care of our seatbelt connection at the base here. So I still have my seatbelt dangling here, the lower portion. I have my buckle up at the top shoulder there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom portion, I'm going to fish it through the upper leftmost shoulder hole right here. As you can hopefully see, make sure that your belt is not too twisted up or tangled. Then I'm going to pull it down, try and get that buckle through the hole as well. I'm going to run the buckle through so it looks just like that. Then I'm going to take the base here and I'm going to fish that through this lowermost left hole right there, just like that. Pull that a little bit to get some slack, and then we're just going to bolt it right back into the factory position. I'm going to loosely put that in there yet. I'm not going to fully tighten it in yet until we have our seat all tightened down. So I'm just going to screw that in just a little bit in case I need to make any adjustments to the belt or untangle it or untwist it. That's looking pretty good right there. Should look just like that. And then in function, it's just going to come over your lap, over the side bolster, and down into the buckle right there on the side. And that is how you're going to run your factory 3-point harness on the bucket seat here. The next thing that we're going to want to do before we throw the bolts in here, the factory mounting bolts, is we're going to lift the seat up and we're going to make that connection with the seat belt harness. You can see right there the little white connector there, the little male connector. We're going to fish the harness that's coming off of the belt buckle here on the side. See if I can fish that out. I'm going to run that underneath the rail. Put my camera down. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to grab it from under here. So I have it right here, ready to go. I'm just going to plug that into the proper connector underneath. Like so, and then tuck it out of the way, and then put the seat back down. And we are good to go. We know we're not going to be getting that seatbelt light. So the harnessing should look just something like that. You can see I've got my little seatbelt connector hooked in there, and of course we have our airbag resistor in place. It's all tucked out of the way. There's no crimped wires, nothing's getting crushed, and we are now ready to go ahead and start bolting this thing down. Now I should mention, when I installed these rails, I left these mounting bolts here and here, these two and two, these four, I left them just loosely tightened on because they do feature a slight adjustment, you can see, to the left and to the right. That's so that you can match up the mounting holes to the bracket there. If you need to move this over a little bit, they do give you that little bit of adjustment, as you can see. So I left them loose. What I'm going to do is get them in the right positions, get the factory bolts in there so it's not moving around, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down. That's on both sides, of course. So looking down from the passenger side down here at the mounting bolt, you can see, or maybe you can't see, but there's a little metal, like a little metal positioning nub that you actually have to fit the bracket over, and it will slot into one of the holes on the bottom of the bracket. It's just right next to the mounting hole, right down there. You can't really see it because the bracket's in the way, but there's a little, it's like a little tower that's sticking up, a little metal nub. You got to fit the bracket over that, and it will slot into a hole that's just to the side of the actual mounting hole. Once you have that thing in the right position, then that hole should line up for you right there. Alright guys, we have got the seat fully installed at this point. We've tightened down all of our hardware on all four corners, as well as the base of the seat belt down there, and this thing is rock solid. You cannot move that thing around there unless you want to. Of course, we have the slide action, we can go back and forth with it, and man, I could not be more happy with the look of this thing. This thing looks absolutely epic. I went ahead and put my steering wheel in there for effect. You can see the side bolster here clears the door just fine. And man, look at that, guys. Absolutely epic. Hopefully you can see the sun is not really cooperating right now, but man, that is looking dope. Now I'm gonna go ahead and have a seat in there so you guys can see how the fitment is. It's quite a bit different than the stock seat because it is a racing seat, it's a bucket seat. So I'm gonna go ahead and have a seat, show you my positioning. Alright, so having a seat here, you just sink right into this bucket seat, man, and you are locked into place. I have a little bit of side-to-side leg movement like this, not much, because these seats are, of course, designed to keep you right in place when you're racing. I actually ended up having to take the seat back out and put the seat in the highest position, because when I first installed it and sat down, I was way too low. So if you guys are worried at all that you're not going to be sitting low enough, if you hope to sit low, don't worry about that at all with these FG rails, because man, you sit super low. So I actually had to put both sides, both front and back, in the highest setting so I can get up here and get a nice level of view like I prefer. I've also got the steering wheel column tilt just at about halfway so I can see my gauges clearly through my steering wheel. I have really nice comfortable ergonomics here with my arms. There's not too much bend. I'm not like this, and I'm not way out here like this, so really nice feel. I've got great bracing here through the shoulders. I'm not going to be moving back and forth like this too much, and my seat belt works perfectly. I can just pull my seat belt up just like this and plug it into the buckle on the side. Just like that, no problem. So 3-point seat belt does work. Don't worry, you guys, you don't have to get harnesses or a harness bar or a roll cage with this. You can just run your 3-point if you want, but the seat is of course designed for a 5 or 6-point or a 4-point harness, though I don't recommend 4-point harnesses. Of course, like I said, in the future I am going to be installing a harness in here, a 5-point harness, as well as a harness bar. I don't think I'm going to go full cage in this car because I don't really track it that much, at least right now. Maybe in the future, who knows. But for right now, I'm just going to do a harness bar in the back, and that should be very sufficient for my 5-point harness. And then this whole setup is going to be looking even better, and it's going to be even more functional. But for right now, I am so satisfied. This seat is absolutely dope, and I hope you guys like it as well. Now, because this is a bucket seat, the process of getting in and out of the car is going to be a little bit different because you have such high side bolsters right here. It's not quite so easy as just putting your leg out and getting out like you would in a stock seat. So I've already tested it out, and I've kind of realized what my pattern or what my process of getting in and out of this car is going to be. Getting in is not really that big of a deal, but getting out is going to consist of me, of course, removing the steering wheel first off the quick release, putting the wheel up on the top of the car, picking myself up on the sides here, both on the center console and on the side sill here, picking myself up, lifting out, and getting out just like that. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, or you'd like to see it, another video with it in more in depth or anything like that, let me know in the comments section. Any comments, questions, anything at all, just hit me up, let me know, and I'd be happy to talk with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out and God bless. Oh, and just one more thing, guys. Just to prove that I don't have an airbag light, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the car on and show you guys. Bam, there it is. No airbag light. Of course, I'm not wearing my seatbelt right now, so my seatbelt light is still on, but there it is, guys. No airbag light, and I've got the aftermarket seat in the car. So that's how you do it, guys. Hope you guys like this video. I'll see you on the next one.